Welcome to my channel. Today we meet the boy who became Sultan at 12 and conquered Constantinople at 21. Welcome to my channel. Imagine becoming ruler of an empire at just 12 years old. Before you turn 21, you conquer one of the most legendary cities in history. Well, that happened to this kid. In the 1400s, Anatolia was a melting pot of cultures and empires. Byzantine, Greek, and Roman ruins blended with the call to prayer echoing from minarets. And it was here, in this crossroads of civilizations, that our young hero grew up. Mehmed was born in 1432, the son of Sultan Mehmed II. But he wasn't destined for the throne. Not only was he just a little kid, but his dad was still young and healthy, yet fate had other plans. When Mohammed was just 12 years old, his father died unexpectedly, leaving the Ottoman Empire without a leader and making Mohammed the new Sultan. Everyone was shocked. The vizier, Grand Vizier, the empire's chief minister, tried to persuade the assembly of notables to choose a more suitable candidate. But they were adamant. They wanted a new sultan. Mehmed might have been young, but they believed he was the chosen one. At first, this worked out well for the Ottomans. A regency council was formed to govern on behalf of the child sultan. And within 3 years, the Ottomans conquered large parts of Anatolia. That's when reality hit. As soon as the neighboring rulers heard there was a child sultan, they attacked. Mehmed's inexperienced counselors couldn't handle it. Cities fell one after another, and soon the Ottomans were on the brink of collapse. People started asking if the child sultan should step down. Many thought he never had what it took to be sultan. So when Mehmed II recovered from his illness and returned from exile, he had no choice but to reclaim his throne. Now, some sources say that Mehmed was actually Mehmed's uncle, not his father. And that makes Mehmed technically an Ottoman prince rather than a sultan. But let's stick with the official story for now. Mehmed II became sultan once more, but he knew the crown would eventually pass to his son. So while ruling, he started preparing Mehmed to take over. He assembled the best teachers to educate him about science, war tactics, religion, and even languages. Soon, Mehmed could speak Arabic, Persian, and Turkish fluently, plus Latin and Greek. It was also around this time that Mehmed developed an interest in the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople. Back then, the Byzantines held on to the city fiercely, but Mehmed saw it as his birthright, the key to uniting the Muslim world and advancing his empire. It became his obsession. At the age of 19, Mehmed II passed away again, leaving the vast Ottoman Empire in the hands of his 19-year-old son. Finally, it was time for Mehmed II to show what he was made of. His first order as the new sultan was to assemble an army. Thousands of soldiers came under his banner, eager to please their new leader. Soon the entire empire was mobilized. Architects designed giant cannons and shipbuilders created massive warships. The main target was Constantinople. While Mehmed trained his troops and refined his siege plans, he kept thinking about the city, its wealth, its location, and its potential. He knew conquering it wouldn't be easy, so he prepared thoroughly. He sent spies to gather intelligence, bribed officials to get inside information, and researched past sieges to learn from previous mistakes. When he felt ready, he gathered his forces and headed toward the city. It was April 6, 1453, when Mehmed's army arrived. They set up camp outside the walls of Constantinople. Soon, the nearby hills were filled with tents, and the air was buzzing with anticipation. For 53 days, the Ottoman army bombarded the city. Cannon fire shook the ground day and night. Huge catapults hurled massive boulders, trying to break through the thick stone walls. Entire sections of the fortifications collapsed under the relentless assault. The Ottoman navy patrolled the waters, preventing any relief or trade ships from reaching the city. Mehmed even built a road and pulled his ships on land, surprising the defenders. Yet the Byzantines fought bravely. Their emperor Constantine XI rallied his people, urging them to resist the invaders. But for how long? Inside the city, people were exhausted. Food and water were scarce. Disease spread through the crowded streets. Every night they endured the deafening roar of cannons shaking the city. Meanwhile, Mohammed wasn't just attacking Hedin, he was also trying to get inside through diplomacy. He sent letters to the emperor offering terms, promising mercy if the city surrendered. but Constantine refused to negotiate. On May, as the sun rose, something unusual happened. Mehmed called off the attack. Was he giving up? No, this was part of his plan. He ordered his army to build 2 giant towers right next to the city walls. From there, elite Ottoman soldiers would scale the fortifications and open the gates from the inside. Meanwhile, ships sailed up the Golden Horn, ready to support the troops. Smoke rose above the city as Ottoman shells ignited gunpowder stores. Everywhere, flames engulfed the wooden houses. Amidst the chaos, Ottoman soldiers reached the top of the city walls. They planted banners declaring the city taken. Cheers echoed across the battlefield. Soldiers charged forward, filling the streets of Constantinople. Constantine fought valiantly, but he couldn't stop the tide. Soon, he and his men retreated to the Hagia Sophia, hoping to hold out as long as possible. The building itself was magnificent. It was built 1,000 years ago. Its massive dome soared overhead, decorated with intricate mosaics. But its grandeur couldn't hide the fear that gripped Constantine's heart. Hours turned into days. The Ottomans kept attacking, determined to end the resistance. Finally, on May 29, 1453, the building shook one last time. An Ottoman cannonball crashed through the roof. Constantine looked up at the hole in the dome, realizing there was nowhere left to run. He and his men laid down their arms, waiting for the Ottomans to claim victory. That's when Mehmed II entered the Hagia Sophia. He walked slowly, taking in the sight of the magnificent building. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a child looking at a map of the empire. Now he raised his hands in the air, declaring the city of Constantinople taken by the Ottomans. With that, a cheer erupted, shaking the very foundations of the building. He allowed the surrendering Byzantines to leave the city unharmed. Then he turned his attention to the treasures within the church. Gold, silver, and precious jewels were loaded onto ships and sent back to his capital. After 53 days of fighting, the siege was over. Constantinople was now part of the Ottoman Empire. Mehmed the Conqueror had changed history. News of the fall of Constantinople spread quickly throughout Europe, shaking the continent to its core. Some viewed Mehmed as a ruthless conqueror. Others saw him as a brilliant strategist and a champion of Islam. Love him or hate him, he had proved himself to be one of the greatest leaders of his time. He went on to rule the empire for the next 30 years. Under his guidance, the empire flourished. Trade routes reopened, connecting the East and West. Scholars from all over the world flocked to Constantinople. Drawn by Mehmed's promotion of tolerance and his personal library, Mehmed transformed Constantinople into Istanbul. The city became a hub of trade and culture, a place where people from different backgrounds could live and work together. And finally, Mehmed fulfilled his childhood dream of owning the Hagia Sophia. The building stood as a symbol of his victory, but also as a testament to the greatness of both the Byzantine and Ottoman empires. What can we learn from this boy who became a great sultan? He taught us that bravery doesn't mean being fearless. It means facing challenges despite our fears. Resilience is essential, especially when things don't go as planned. We must learn to adapt and persevere. Lastly, preparation is key. Mehmed spent years planning and gathering resources for his campaign. By being prepared, he increased his chances of success. Sometimes it takes time to achieve greatness, and didn't become sultan at the perfect age. He had to wait and prove himself. But when his time came, he was ready. As dawn broke on May 29, 1453, Mehmed entered the city he had dreamed of since childhood. But not as a boy who wanted to be sultan, as a conqueror who changed history forever. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe to my channel for more legendary true stories from history.